The disrespect for the Golden State Warriors has reared its ugly head again. The Bleacher Report, or just Bleacher Report, has come out with their ranking of the best superstar duos right now. And I believe they ranked their top 5 superstar duos, and they added 2 duos to the honorable mention list. Are you ready for Bleacher Report's top 5 duos as they see it in the National Basketball Association?
Very, very ready.
Honorable mention, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, with a great bit of experience together, 6 years and a trip to the NBA Finals. They fall short of cracking the top 5. Also honorably mentioned, Joel Embiid and James Harden, statistically one of the best duos in basketball last year, but they fell short. And also Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. So 3 duos missing out on the top 5. Are you ready for the top 5? Thank you. The top 5 NBA duos according to Bleacher Report. We start with number 5 from the Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Number 4. You mentioned that he's maybe the softest player in the NBA. Your words, not mine. LeBron James and Anthony Davis come in at number 4.
Number 3.
Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray as a duo, NBA champions.
Number 2.
Giannis Antetokounmpo and Drew Holiday.
Number 1.
Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. No mention, Styles. Not even a mention. Not even a honorable mention. No mention at all of the Splash Brothers who've won 4 championships. Your thoughts on the disrespect?
Well, the emphasis is on right now. And Bleacher Report does not think that they are a superstar duo right now. And I think that's good. I want Klay to read this. And I want Steph to read this.
Bulletin board material?
I'm glad that they're not on the list.
Not even honorable mention?
That's a little nuts to me. I'm really surprised Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are only honorable mention.
Yeah, I agree.
Embiid and Harden, they feel like honorable mention to me. And Kawhi and Paul George, we're all just going to live in this fairyland and just continue to believe that one day they're going to get it, put it all together and be on the court
be healthy at the same time.
And it's just not happening. It's just not happening. Luka and Kyrie, I mean, if you talk about NBA Twitter and just the obsession that people have with Kyrie and Luka, it's just absurd. I mean, the bottom line is that they were in playoff contention when they traded for Kyrie, and then they fell out of playoff contention. Now, I don't know if you've heard the term, people call Kyrie the most skilled point guard ever. That's their little prize for Kyrie, which I don't even know what that means, to be completely honest with you. And I can't talk basketball with people that use terms like that. Luka, everybody continues to want to crown him every single year, and I'm still waiting for him to actually do something. I know he went to the Western Conference Finals, but all right.
And then they got blown out of the gym by the Golden State Warriors, who couldn't even make it on this list.
Exactly. LeBron James and Anthony Davis, fine. I mean, I think people are kind of prisoner of the moment right now because of how well Anthony Davis played in the playoffs for a majority of the playoffs. Jokic and Murray, of course, I have no qualms about that. They just won the championship, and they are dynamic. Giannis and Drew Holiday, that's interesting, I guess. I mean, you would think, I know Middleton was injured for a good bit of this year.
Yep.
So Giannis and Drew Holiday, I guess that's the thing. You're just pairing, a lot of these are just really good players with their counterparts. So to me, this is disrespect to Steph, because Steph deserves to be on here somewhere. If Steph, and all the lists we see, Steph is still a top 5 player. Right. So you must, it's really not disrespectful to Steph as much as it is to Klay, because you're saying that you can't even, Steph is a top 5 player and he can't even get on the list. That's how little you're contributing at this point, Klay. That's how I would read this, because Steph is a top 5 player right now. And LeBron isn't. And neither is AD. Top 5. Neither of them are top 5. AD can get there sometimes, but LeBron's not top 5 anymore. And Drew Holiday's not top 5. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, sure, why not?
Yeah, and that's kind of how it feels to me when it comes to Drew Holiday, because I don't think that he is worthy of being on this list. Great player, but he's kind of the plus one alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Right.
And that's a little bit how I feel about Luka and Kyrie, because I think Kyrie's best years are behind him. And it's interesting what Bleacher Report wrote underneath their ranking at number 5. Irving should also be happy and motivated after signing a 3-year, $126 million contract, while Doncic looks slimmer than ever heading into year 5. The notion of Kyrie Irving should also be happy and motivated, that to me is hilarious, because as Kyrie is further advanced into his career, happy and motivated are things that have been fickle and passing for him. All it's taken is a couple of bad episodes or a couple of bad breaks in his own career or his situation to go from happy and motivated to unhappy and disgruntled.
There's no way this works, okay, for a couple of reasons. I like Mark Cuban. I watch Shark Tank, okay? I love the show. He didn't have a choice. He had to sign Kyrie. But I believe that they don't know what Luka needs. And they're just going to keep signing players until they figure it out. You had Porzingis, didn't work out. He had to go. And then played pretty darn well in Washington. Now he's in Boston. You had Jalen Brunson. Okay, so the big didn't work. Then you had Jalen Brunson. Okay, that version of a guard didn't work. He goes off and plays very well in New York. And now you have Kyrie. So now let's just grab Kyrie because there's no way it's not going to work. And to your point, Dibs, the coddling is absurd. I mean, you've never had to worry about Steph being happy. You've never had to worry about a lot of these players. So you got James Harden on here, who he's in the fickle club. Kyrie's in the fickle club.
Yep.
Kevin Durant's in the fickle club. All these guys are better served to be on this list than Steph and Klay. And again, it's just a big disrespect to Klay. But if they're saying they're talking about right now, and specifically right now, and they're looking at the stats and saying Klay isn't that right now, I can see where they're coming from. As a Warriors fan, I'm not happy about it.
Right.
But to be completely honest with you, it's a little bit of the, hey, you can talk bad about my younger sibling, or I can talk bad about my younger sibling, but you can't. That's what it feels like to me. And I'm sure if you broke down the numbers, it would make sense. But I don't care about the numbers right now.
Right.
I don't care.
Well, the numbers they used are net rating together. And this is where the list for me is a little curious, because Kevin Durant and Devin Booker come in at number 1, but they only played 8 games together during the regular season. Yeah. So their net rating was a plus 18.4, which was the best in the association among just 2-player combos. And so you look at Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and you think, yeah, if they're both healthy and playing at their best, they might be the best combo. Those are 2 of the best, you could say 10 players in the association, I think safely. But the injury thing is a curiosity. LeBron and AD at number 4 is also curious. Now, Anthony Davis just got paid. He got a massive $60+ million a year Supermax extension, and LeBron James is going to be 40 years old. So, again, that's another combo who I don't know how much they're actually going to play together. Luka and Kyrie, I'm with you. I'm selling that combo. Giannis and Drew Holiday, I don't think are that daunting of a pairing. And I agree with you about Jalen and Jason with Boston. Those 2 for me should have been maybe number 2 or maybe number 3. I would put Jokic and Murray at number 1. These guys are coming off a title.
Right.
And then Jason and Jalen, to me, in Boston, that's a dynamic duo. And now that Jaylen Brown got paid, I think that he comes in ready to show the world that he's worth every penny.
Yeah, and the reason the ring conversation, I'm not going to get hung up on that part of it, is simply because in 2022, it wasn't what we saw with the Nuggets, where it was Jokic and Murray and bing, bang, boom, right? When they won in 2022, it was Steph, but it was a little bit of Klay and maybe more of Jordan Poole and a good bit of Andrew Wiggins. That's the question, actually, now that we think about it. And if it is right now, because it is right now, so this wouldn't happen. I'm not trying to disrespect Klay at all, but is it more, if this was from last year, from 2022, and let's say Wiggins had a comparable year to 2022, wouldn't we be talking about that duo being Steph and Wiggins?
Well, it was for a couple of weeks, and then that's about it. But I don't think Andrew Wiggins has played consistently enough to earn his spot as the other member of that duo. And
In 2022,
for a while, 2022
he was an all-star.
in May and June.
He was an all-star that year.
He was an all-star. Fine.
And then was a huge reason they won.
What happened between the all-star game and the end of the year? He was not a consistently dominant player.
Right.
And before that, he certainly wasn't. And then last year,
No,
he was
last year
non-factor.
takes him out of that. Last year takes him out of
And
it.
last year, and you could put you can take the personal reasons and put that aside if you want, but he also had an illness that was reportedly a non-COVID significant illness. He had an injury, and then he had the personal issue that took him out for more than half the season.
Yeah.
So because of his inability to be available, and also for me, what he did in 2021, which was largely not impactful for the Golden State Warriors. Yeah, in the championship year, he played great, especially in the playoffs and in the finals. He was unbelievable.
Sure.
And it makes you wonder why you can't get that Andrew Wiggins more often. But I guess it's just not the way he's cut. He's not cut from that cloth. So he hasn't earned that spot to be their number 2. I don't think.
Either.
And it's Klay by default.
All right.
And, Klay, at this point in his career, he should be, I think, in this conversation. But, last year he had a bit of an up and down year. He led the association in three-pointers made, also in three-pointers attempted. But I'm surprised that the Warriors didn't at least get an honorable mention based on the fact that you got Steph Curry. And Steph was top 10 in the NBA last year in MVP voting, as was Jimmy Butler, another guy who didn't get
Jimmy and Bam, maybe.
Jimmy and Bam, exactly. So
Yeah.
just a little bit curious for me the way this list shook out. And they only had 8 combos on there. 8 duos, rather.
Yeah, Jimmy and Bam is a weird one. For Steph to not be on it just when Steph is still widely
Steph is
seen
Steph.
as a top 5 player, that just says they don't have any belief in Klay Thompson or Andrew. He's not on the list, so it doesn't really matter who they would pair him up with because nobody's there. So I still think it's a good thing. They were very open. The Warriors were after they won in 2022 that they do read all this stuff. So I hope
the Petty Kings.
So I hope Klay's reading it. I hope Steph is reading it, and it's all good because none of this matters. I mean, how many lists have the Clippers won? How many lists did the Brooklyn Nets win?
Yeah.
And they haven't done absolutely anything. They've done nothing.
And even Phoenix, to that same point, Phoenix has been unable to get itself over the line. And so you're right in terms of these lists. They don't have any bearing on NBA games or NBA seeding. I do think it's an interesting conversation, though, in terms of one person's opinion about duos and the Warriors. And I wonder if, many around the league are starting to sleep on the Warriors and, put them more into the History Channel than part of the future.
They think the Warriors are done this time. Everybody feels that 2022 was a mulligan in some way. And all right, they got us. They got us once, but now they're done. They're not, people don't call it a fluke because you can't. That'd be disrespectful. But all right, that's all the Warriors had left. And the way the Warriors acted after that, sure, I could see why a non-Warriors fan would think, the way the Nuggets have emerged and the way the Warriors went out. And let's be honest, the Warriors roster isn't much different. They didn't get bigger. They didn't get more athletic. They got less athletic. So I can see why a non-Warriors fan would say, I don't see it. Even with Steph, I don't see it. There's just not enough. There's not enough help there. So I get it. I understand it, but that just helps the Warriors. But I don't necessarily know. The thing is, if we're doing this, I think what you would say, Dibs, is that the LeBron, the Kawhi and Paul George thing, there's 2 that bother me. Kawhi and Paul George and LeBron and AD. Those feel like, hey, they just deserve to be in this conversation. So if they deserve to be in this conversation, Steph and Klay also do. That's my issue.
Yeah. The one that bugs me the most would be Luka and Kyrie. And this from the Xfinity Mobile text line, the 650. Luka is not a winner and will never, all caps, be a winner. And from the 925, didn't Klay lead the league in three-pointers last season? Yes, he did. Three-pointers made and three-pointers attempted. So Klay was able to corner the market on both of those categories.
Right. Hey, if you're going to have one, you're going to have them all. Luka Ball, we've seen this before with Harden, and you could make the argument, and I know Luka's stats are ridiculous, but you can make the argument that even Harden was, I guess, his skill set and what he was doing, it feels like it transferred better. Maybe it was because of D'Antoni and it just made more sense, but it feels like people always say if it wasn't for the Warriors and that team that they had, the Rockets would have won a ring, right? That's not a situation with the Mavs. Even if they had went to the finals, I don't think they would have beat the Celtics. It doesn't matter now, but Luka, they're just they're getting to a crossroads where I think that organization is running out of ideas for how to best utilize Luka. Because similar, Dibs, if we go back to football for a second and we talk about Justin Fields and what he's done, or Josh Allen, these guys that play hero ball, they haven't won the big one. And Justin Fields hasn't got close, but specifically Josh Allen. Now, for as good as Patrick Mahomes is, he doesn't really play hero ball like that, right? And so that's a difference. So then you have guys that are in the top 5 like Steph and even LeBron James, and they don't play hero ball, and they have championships. So I don't know what the Mavericks are going to do, but this idea, people love to crown players so early, and Luka stepped on the floor, and for whatever reason, everybody, I know he's a good player, but this idea that he's going to be the face, he's going to do, maybe he will. I'm just saying I don't know yet.
Yeah.
So the people that are talking like they do know yet sound ridiculous.
Right, and if Luka has improved his body, that's good, because the more you watch him, you realize that he needs to definitely get stronger and get fitter.
They say that every year, though. But
this might be the year. And, it does.
And every year, Ben Simmons was getting a three-pointer.
Right. Well, and, Markelle Fultz is going to learn how to shoot and so many other things that we think about. But if Luka Doncic can improve his body and his fitness and certainly his defense, he's an unbelievably skilled player and still so young that I don't think that you can yet write him off or put him into any sort of a box in terms of the player that he's going to be.